All right, Pelican invites you to take a beach break at one of their coastal locations in Pacific City, Tillamookana Beach, Lincoln City, and coming soon to a beach near you, the Rockaway Beach location. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. It is a Pate State Thursday, as it is every week here on Dirt and Sprague on 105.1 The Fan. The commissioner of college football, the Josh Pate College Football, you can catch him multiple times a week, including a new episode tonight. You can follow him on Instagram for his Friday Night Lines, his Ramen Noodle Express bets, and his behind-the-scenes look wherever he's going week to week. And give him a follow on Twitter, at Josh Pate, CFB, on every possible platform in media at this point that can exist. I want to have a confession with you, Pate, and that was I was watching Oregon Penn State, and Oregon scores, and they go up 17-3, and mentally I went, why would Josh have trusted that Penn State offense to beat this Oregon team? And then Penn State came back and tied it, and I went, that cagey bastard. He kind of saw it coming. And then Oregon wins in double overtime because Drew Aller's Drew Aller and Penn State loses. Just where were you at, up and down, watching this game when you went and watched the contest between Oregon and Penn State?
Well, where I was up and down the Alabama-Georgia sidelines because I secretly had the game pulled up on my phone as I was at that game. You were right the first time around. When it was 17-3, you actually had the right mentality. Why in the world did I allow myself to get drawn into that? Sometimes I'll pick games on principle in college football. Like there was no part of me that thought Penn State was a better team than Oregon going into the game. But I did think it was close enough to where all this intangible stuff that sometimes crops up in college football would matter. Home field is part of that, but it wasn't just home field. It was just knowing how badly Penn State as a program had to have that game. And it's always storybook when you have to have a game and you win it. But the thing about football and sports in general is you can need something badly and not get it. And I didn't know. I thought that it was going to be one where they figured out a way there, and then maybe later down the road against Ohio State they lose. And who knows, maybe they see Ohio State or Oregon again, and they lose that one. But I didn't think they'd drop that one at home. Veteran team against a young team. Oregon and Penn State, neither of whom had played anyone so far that year. So anyway, we saw the game. We don't need to recap the game. Now there's a whole lot, and I mean a whole lot, even on my own staff, of dissension within the Penn State ranks, and I can't even push back on it. And you guys know I'm prone to pushing back. I push back all the time on this stuff, but I can't now. I really, really wonder, like, what do you do? Where do you go? Well, you go to UCLA. That's where they go this week to get better. Yeah. It's a great time to fly 4,000 miles. But, yeah, it was great for Oregon. I mean, we can talk about Oregon all day, but just from the Penn State side of things, and then winter's coming. It's going to be cold up there, short days, and
it's miserable.
It's a great week for me to go down to Florida to think about it all.
Well, at least they get to play UCLA, who I believe I read a stat this week. They're the only team in all of college football who's never led for a second this year, so that should help them right the ship a little bit. But I don't think it's going to
unbelievable stat.
Like not even for a second, not even 3-0 lead in the first quarter. But I remember asking you, Pate, last Thursday, just kind of what the message would send about Oregon if they were to win. I kind of want to follow up now that we've seen it, and then also just add the context of like. I just was blown away that three of the best players on the field were true freshmen on Oregon's roster. De'Aaron Hill at running back, DeCorian Moore made an unbelievable catch, and nobody's throwing at Brandon Finney, who's a true freshman corner who Oregon won in a recruiting battle over Penn State, and so they're starting to grab some of these Big Ten recruits. Just the message that sent and what your reaction was to Dan Lanning and his post-game feeling, if you will.
Well, I'm never surprised by the Lanning stuff. Anyone who hangs around him knows that's just him on Tuesday. So and maybe the rest of the country doesn't get a glimpse of that as much as some of us do, but I didn't. I just said, oh, okay, that's Dan. Oh, that's right. People don't normally get to see that. They're making a big deal about it. As for the Oregon part, that actually is the biggest point to me when you're talking about Penn State. That's the most depressing part. Every part of your team, if you're Penn State, is really veteran. They've been there for a long time. Like you've built it, the quintessential Penn State way. And then Lanning's got a bunch of young guys. And some portal guys that they put together. And this is the first time they're even taking the operation on the road. And them at their newest and most unproven is still better in your building than you at your absolute best. So that's what I thought about that from the Penn State side. From the Oregon side, I've got to assume kind of the same thing I do with Texas Tech. Far different circumstances, far different conference. But I kind of think with both of those teams, if you're going to get them,
the best shot to get him in is in September and early October because of how new they are, because of how relatively unproven they were. And, I don't think we have an elite team right now, but that's the thing about a college football season. The teams that eventually become elite, they normally hit that gear around Halloween, like mid-October, Halloween, and then they peak at the right time. I think we're looking at Oregon pre-peaking is what I'm trying to say. It's a long-winded way of saying it. We wasted a lot of airtime there. But I think that there is going to come a time, down the road a little ways where you don't look at them and say, boy, if they played Penn State now, Penn State would win. I think it's much more likely we're looking at it saying, if this Oregon team went into State College, that thing wouldn't have gone to overtime. That thing would be over well before then.
Mm-hmm. Josh Pate's our guest here. He joins us every Thursday at around 7:40. Pate State University stoppage here on Dirt and Sprague every Thursday. Follow him on Twitter at Josh Pate CFB. Catch the Josh Pate College Football Show on YouTube, as you can multiple times a week, including tonight. A new episode is dropping. I know you're getting ready to go to Florida. I want to read a quote to you, though, and we just talked about this before you hopped on. The starting quarterback of Vanderbilt. Quote, the crowd is going to be a big factor in the game, but we just have to play within the white lines. If we do that, if we play our game, it won't be close. I can't believe I'm asking you about the Vanderbilt quarterback going into Alabama and whether he's going to back up that quote or not. But they beat him last year, coming off of the Georgia game. Bama goes to Georgia. They win again. You saw it firsthand. And now here comes Vanderbilt, undefeated, top 25, into Tuscaloosa. What do you make of the Pavia quote? What do we make of this matchup this time, given what happened last year?
This is it's really crazy. It's like Jay Cutler ran at Vandy so Diego Pavia could fly. Like Jay, I can't believe this is a headline and it wasn't Jay Cutler at Vandy. So it's not going to be easy as much as like I was. Let me give you a little anecdote. So I was actually in Bama's locker room. Let's wait for the garbage truck to go by. Okay, there we go. I was in Alabama's locker room after the Georgia game. Now, this is surreal for me to say, but I'm saying it because I experienced it. They were celebrating the Georgia win, of course. Half the locker room was talking about Vandy before they even got on the buses to get out of there. That's how much attention Vanderbilt has gotten. Can you imagine sort of being someone's Super Bowl, but then you're going to play them again the next year? And so you watch them. I mean, they planted their flag off of that Alabama win last year, which they should have. And they've celebrated it, and they've lived off of it. And Diego Pavia, it's not like he did it and then he goes off to work at Publix or goes off to the NFL or wherever he's going to go. He's back again, and he's coming into your building. So I do my show from the On3 studios or I have a studio in the On3 building in Nashville. Chris Lowe is who wrote that article. He's who did the interview. So since he was in Nashville, he just came over to the office to write the story the other night. He walks in with wide eyes, which is never a good thing because Chris is the most docile person ever. And he says, buddy, wait till you see what I just got from Pavia today. and so I walked in my studio and did the show. By the time I had gotten out, he had written it. And I looked at it and I said, of course he said that. I mean, of course. I talked to Kublik one time. They were doing pre-show or pregame meetings with the quarterbacks for a Vandy game. And it was Vandy, Texas or something like that. Yeah, it was Vandy, Texas last year. Kublik gives 27 reasons why Vandy's going to win, or why Texas is going to win. Matchups here, matchups there, point spreads like 15 or 20. Pavia looks at him and just says, yeah, but we got me. And he wasn't joking. He was not joking. There was no smile on his face. He goes, but we got me. So there is a very Hannibal Lecter, pulse never gets above 80, so sort of psychotic vibe about him. He is Dan Lanning if Lanning was playing quarterback for Vandy. So it's going to be a wild game, man. I picked Bama to win it, but I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be very competitive. Vandy dominated time of possession in that game last year, 42 minutes to 18 minutes. Bama did that to Georgia last week. Vandy dominated third down. Bama did that to Georgia last week. Vandy won the turnover battle. Bama has not turned the ball over yet this year. So I think a lot of the critical factors, Bama as a team talent profile has shifted their way, but even though they won't overlook them, I think it's going to be a fight just because Vandy's that good a team.
So credit to Clark Lee and Diego Pavia for making that game interesting. Just imagine saying that 5 years ago. We're excited for a rematch between Alabama and Vanderbilt.
You
Never
said that
would have thought
last
it.
year. I thought you were crazy.
Never would have thought that was going to happen. Now, I know you're going to Florida, but there's another game going on in the state that I'm curious to ask you about. I know you're beloved by the Texas fan base right now. Just the pressure cooker that exists between the quarterback and coach on each side of that game between Florida and Texas and what it means for both sides.
Yeah, this has sort of snuck up on me. I did not know that it was circulating the internet that I was a Texas hater. Normally, I'm aware of the narratives. I was not aware of this one until the past 48 hours. Yeah, that's one where they just had a bye. Texas just had a bye, so people kind of haven't talked about Arch in a couple of weeks. They haven't talked about Texas. For some reason, I have it in my mind that most of the public's just waiting for the Oklahoma game, and they are unaware that Texas is less than a touchdown favorite at Florida this week. And I just don't know that there's a ton of separation between the teams. Florida has massively underachieved this year. They've been terrible offensively. But like we talk about all the time, when you're bad, that means you have the least incentive to continue doing what you've been doing. And so whatever they're going to change, which I think will be running the ball more, I think is going to happen this week. And so, I think it's going to be a real fight. I don't think it's going to be very easy for Texas to move the ball offensively. And I think that could be a surprising result.
Miami, Florida State. Looking forward to this ACC tilt. I know you said you'd be down in Florida. I really like this Miami team. I don't think that's a hot take by any metric. I know they struggled offensively against a good defensive team in Florida, but ultimately get the win. Their defense looks like it's taken a real step considering what we saw last year from that unit. I love Miami in this one. I think Florida State's a good team, but I love Miami in this one. Where are you at right now on the tilt of Miami, Florida State? Cristobal against Castellanos.
I went with Miami. I'm just very cautious because I haven't seen Miami leave home yet, because I know what Florida State just did. See, the casual watches Florida State lose to Virginia and thinks, oh, that makes the Miami game lose its luster. It makes it more dangerous for Miami is what it actually does. I mean, if you watch college football any length of time, you understand that. Would Alabama have done what they did to Georgia had they not lost to FSU earlier? I don't know, but I think it had something to do with it. Well, similarly, I got Doak Campbell Stadium, wounded animal mode, team at home, a long rest, by the way. Like Miami's coming off a bye, but FSU had an extra day's rest too. But it's must win. If they lose this game, that's already 2 conference losses, guys. So I do wonder about Malzahn and the way he can get his skill guys on the perimeter. The one thing I wonder about Miami's defense is not in the front. They're insane there. They overhauled their entire secondary with better players. They had to. Those guys haven't been stressed and made to tackle in space like they will in this game. I don't think FSU is going to run the ball. It's the number 2 rushing offense in the country. I don't care. They hadn't faced the top 50 rush defense. They will not do that against Miami. But what they can do is they can do what I've seen Malzahn do in the SEC a lot against Kirby and Saban, and that's make up for that on the perimeter, an extension of the traditional run game, if you will. I'm interested to see that. The discipline, the tackling, all the stuff that plagued them last year at Miami, yeah, it's much better than it was this time a year ago. That doesn't mean it's just perfected itself. And then the other part of that is if you do that, you make the other guy score. But really what that does is it makes Carson Beck win on the road throwing the ball, which he can do. But I'd a whole lot rather them win doing it that way than just that offensive line and ground game leans on me 52 times. There's no path for FSU to win if that's the game script.
We'll get you out here with this one, man, because we always appreciate having you on. If you voted for a Heisman in the all too early voting for a Heisman category, who would get your Heisman vote?
Either Dante or Ty Simpson. Am I missing one? Fernando Mendoza's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the odds say right now. Ty was insane the other night.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, how am I going to project it? Well, I shouldn't be projecting. I should just be going off a resume. So I think I'd probably go Ty slightly. I just thought it was a clinic what they did offensively against Georgia the other night. But I could go Dante either way. I wouldn't argue with you.
There we go. Good stuff. Safe travels. Josh Pate heading down to Florida. Big tilt this weekend. Find his new show tonight on YouTube, the Josh Pate College Football Show. Follow him on Twitter at Josh Pate CFB and follow his Instagram as well for the Friday Night Lines and all behind-the-scenes access every Thursday at 7:40. Thank you so much, my man. Enjoy your breakfast and have a good weekend.
I hate that I was on the road getting my breakfast while we were talking, but I love you anyway. See you guys later.
There you go. Josh Pate's College Football Show at Josh Pate CFB. Says Ty Simpson.
Yeah, he was fantastic against Georgia on Saturday night, man. He was outstanding.
I'm looking forward to the matchups this weekend, man. Miami, Florida State that's a damn good game. I'm with him. Like, didn't need UVA beating Florida State to take this down a notch. I
think
this was always going to be a big game.
If anything, it was a banged up team that was in a look ahead spot, knowing Miami was on the horizon, and they probably overlooked Virginia a little bit. They were really bad defensively, and now we'll see if they can bounce back. We saw Alabama lose to Florida State a couple of weeks ago, and then bounce back and beat Georgia. That's how you know when your team is good, when you can respond to adversity.
Good stuff there from Josh Pate. Josh Pate, College Football Show. That was the Daily Ticker, and it's brought to you by Pelican Brewing. 4 locations: Pacific City, Tillamook, Cannon Beach, Lincoln City, and coming soon, Rockaway Beach. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.